viewers to another episode on ASUG 12 exams. So in this episode we continue looking at the November 2022 Mathematics paper 2. So in this episode now we are moving to section B, where expected to answer 4 questions out of 6. So let us look at question 7, which is from linear programming. Question 7 reads, answer the all of this question on a sheet of graph paper. A businessman intends to sell 2 types of markers, permanent and dry erase. He decides that there should be at least 20 permanent markers and at least 10 dry erase markers. In order to make his business stable, he decided to order not more than 70 markers altogether. The order price of a permanent marker is 15 kwacha and that of a dry erase marker is 20 kwacha. He is prepared to spend not more than 1,200 kwacha altogether. Question A, let X represent the number of permanent markers and Y the number of dry erase markers. Write 4 inequalities which satisfy the above conditions. Then B, using a scale of 2 cm to represent 10 markers on each axis, draw X and Y axes for X is greater or equal to 0 but less or equal to 80. Similarly, Y is greater or equal to 0 but less or equal to 80 respectively, and shade the unwanted region to show clearly the region where the solution of the inequalities lie. Then C, the profit of the sale of a permanent marker is 25 kwacha and on each dry erase marker profit is 30 kwacha. How many markers of each type should be ordered to make maximum profit? Find the maximum profit. So basically those are the questions that we need to answer. So let us go back and answer question A. So question A tells us basically X is representing the permanent markers, then Y is representing the number of dry erase markers. So basically, given that, we need to form 4 inequalities. So let us basically start with A. I will write here A. So the first thing that we know is basically we have a businessman intends to sell 2 types of markers. So we know these markers. So this is X, then this one is Y. Then it decides that there should be at least 20 permanent markers and at least 10 dry erase markers. So here we have 2 inequalities. Now what we need to take note of is a language. So when you're dealing with linear programming, you need to know the meaning of basically at least. We have at most, then we have not more than. These are the common languages that you come across. So at least means that's a minimum. So if you say at least 10 is included in the solution. But if you say more than 10, what you're saying is 10 is not part of the solution. Then if you say at most means that's the maximum. If you say at most 40 is part of the solution, we can't go beyond 40. 40 should be the maximum. But if you say less than 40 is not part of the solution. Then not more than, and at most, they mean the same. What you're saying, don't go beyond that value. So you need to take note of that. So having said that, let us look at the first inequality. So in this case, we have at least 20 permanent markers. So what is permanent markers is X. So what you are saying is 20 is the minimum. So X should be greater or equal to 20. That's the first inequality based on the first condition. Then on this second condition, similarly, we are saying now Y is greater or equal to 10. That's the second inequality. Then after that, we move on. In order to make his business stable, he decides to order not more than 70 markers altogether. This is this part where we are going to get the third inequality. So what we are saying is, if we add the number of permanent markers and the number of dry erase markers, when you add these two, they should not go beyond the 70. So this tells me now that X, which is the permanent markers, plus Y, the dry erase, when I add them, the maximum they can be is basically 70. That's what not more than 70 means. 70 is the maximum value. Then we move to the fourth, which we get from the last part of the information. The order price of permanent marker is 15 and that of dry erase is 20. He is prepared to spend not more than 1,200 altogether. That's the budget. So in this case, if we buy X number of permanent markers, the cost of getting those X permanent markers would be basically 15, which is the cost of 1, multiplied by the number of permanent markers. So if we have 10, it will be 10 times 15. That is if the value of X is 10. So it will become basically 150. And basically that of the dry erase marker is basically 20 multiplied by the number of these dry erase that we buy, which is basically Y. Then this should not go beyond 1,200, which is the budget. Then once we have these four inequalities, then we get the 5 marks in this case. Then let us move to question B. Then we are told that using a scale of 2 centimeters to represent 10 markers on each axis, we need to draw X and Y for this interval respectively and shade the unwanted region clearly and showing where the solution must lie. Once we do that, we get the 4 marks. So let us move straight to the graph paper where we are going to shade this part. So we have now the graph. So what is important is make sure that the graph is well labeled. Okay, well labeled such that we have basically the x-axis clearly labeled and the y-axis clearly labeled. Then remember the instruction is, if you check the instruction is, we have x learning from 0 to 80, then also y 0 to 80, where 80 is part of the range. So this is what we notice. Make sure this is properly labeled like that. Then we also have the 4 inequalities that we've basically found few minutes ago. So now what is needed is for us to transfer these inequalities to basically the graph. So we start with basically the first one where we are saying x is greater or equal to 20. So 20, this is basically the minimum. So what we do is let us get the ruler and draw the line there. So once we get our ruler and put it proper like that, we need to draw a straight line. So this straight line will be like that. So once we draw that straight line, so next is for us to shade the unwanted region. Remember, x is greater or equal to 20 is what we want. So anything below that, we don't want it. So we are going to shade it like this. So we shade like that. This is the unwanted region. Next is we are saying y is greater or equal to 10. So again, what we do is we get our ruler. So a line will be approximately like that. Then this will be the line that we are looking for. So once we draw this line again, we are looking for the values where y is greater than 10. So we are going to shade this region as the unwanted region like that. Then next we look for this value, where we're saying when we add x and y, the value should be maximum 70. So what we do with this one is basically we say what happens if basically x is equal to 0. So once x is equal to 0, basically what will happen is we are going to end up with y is equal to 70, because this will be 0, so y will be 70. Then alternatively, when x is equal to anything else but y becomes 0, then what will happen is x becomes 70, then y 0. So we have these coordinates. So these are the two extreme points. So it's this point and that point. So we need to get a ruler and join these 2 points to see how the line moves. Okay, so once we place the ruler in this way, basically what we do again, we draw a straight line. In this case, I'm going to use the red one so that you see the difference. So it will pass through that point. So basically, once you do that, to distinguish, we can label these inequalities. So it will be basically x plus y is less or equal to 70. Then this one is basically x is greater or equal to 20. Then we have this one, which is basically y is greater or equal to basically 10. So one more to go. What we just need to do is basically shade the unwanted region, which is this region, because what we are saying is when we add x and y, the value should not be greater than 70. So if you picked a point here which is 50, basically 30, when you add these two, it will give us 80. So that 80 is in the unwanted region because it's greater than 70. But if you pick any point inside here, what you notice is 20 plus 30 is 50. 50 is less than 70, so it's part of the solution and all the points on the line. Then we go to the last one, which is the last inequality, which is this one. So similarly, what we do is basically with this one, we assume that if x is equal to 0, what is the value of y? So the value of y becomes, let me just move to the next page, the clear one, so that you're able to see. So it becomes basically 15x plus 20y is less or equal to basically 1200. Then we are saying when x is equal to 0, it will be 15 times 0 is 0, so we have 20y is less or equal to 1200. That is when x is equal to 0. Then we solve for y, by dividing. Then y is equal to basically 20 into basically 1200, we end up with basically 60, which is 120 divided by 2. Then similarly, we have basically when y is equal to 0, we're going to have 15 basically x plus 20 times 0, which is 0, is less or equal to 1200. Then we have 15x is equal to or less than 1200. Then we divide by 15 this side, then then x is equal to, you notice that if you have a calculator, it will be basically 1200 divided by 15, it will be basically 80. So the coordinates that we have is basically 0, 60 and basically 80, 0. So we need to look for these points and join them on the graph. So we go back to the graph. We have basically 0, 60, which is this point, 0, 60. Remember 0, 60, what we are saying is when x is equal to 0, y is 60. So we come here at this point. So 0 is along this line, so it will be at this point. Let me use the black one, that point. Then next is 80, 0. So x is 80, y is 0. So it will be basically this point, which is this one, 80, 0. So what we do is again we join these 2 points using a ruler. So let us use a ruler. Okay, so once you place it like that, then you draw a straight line that will be like that. So this straight line, basically what you do is there again the unwanted region is above. So this is normally the case. So there's no way to be down. So you use the same principle that you used using the previous one by trying the numbers. So what you discover is we have the wanted region and the unwanted region. The wanted region is the one which is in the middle. So it's this one that we are going to use to answer the other questions. So basically this is how you graph the 4 inequalities. So let us move to question C. So just before we move to question C, make sure that basically you label all the inequalities properly, because if you don't, it will be difficult to know them. So this is basically 15x plus 20y is less or equal to 1200. This one, let me just use the lead one to locate it properly. So this one is the inequality. Okay, so let us go to question C. The profit on the sale of a permanent marker is 25 kwacha, and on each dry erase marker profit is 30 kwacha. So we have that and that. Remember, this is x, then this is y, the dry erase. How many markers of which type should be ordered to make the maximum profit and find the maximum profit? So let us first of all form the profit function. So the profit function is basically, in this case, given by profit is basically the number of permanent marker, which is x multiplied by 25. It will be 25x. So if you sell 1, we make 25 kwacha. If you sell 2, that's the value of x is 2, we make 50. If you sell 10, we make 250 kwacha. Then plus, then the profit from the dry erase, which is y, it will be basically 30, because for everyone that we sell, we make 30. So 30 times y is the total profit. So we have 25x plus 30y. This will give us a total profit that we get by selling both. Then, for us to know the maximum profit, we need to know the value of x and y. And this value of x and y should be in the wanted region. So when you go to the graph, you notice that the key points. So we are going to have this point. This point, we shall call it point A. Then we are going to have this extreme point, which is the point of intersection here, which will be B. Then you have this extreme point, which we shall call C. So normally it's these extreme points that are far away from the origin, that is very far away from this origin, are the ones that are likely to be possible candidates for the maximum profit. So what we do is basically you look at this point. So what is point A? So point A is basically 20, when you come at this point, this is halfway of 40 and 50, which is basically 45. Then we look at B. Then B at this point, this is 40, 30. Remember, this is the value of x and this is the value of y. Then we have this one, of course, this is which is C. Is basically 60, 10. So now we need to look at the function that we have, the profit function. So we come to basically this function and replace the values of basically x and y to see the profit that we are going to get. So if you look at point A, we have basically x is 20, y is 45. So we need to basically replace that into this function at A, which is basically 20, 45. These are the values of x and y. So what will be the profit? So the profit would be basically 25 multiplied by 20, then plus 30 multiplied by 45. So this gives me 20 times 25 is basically 500, then plus we have 30 times 45. So if I multiply 30 multiplied by 45 using a calculator, I'm going to end up with basically 1350. When we add these two, we are going to end up with 1850 kwacha as the profit. That's the first case. Then what if we use a point B? So at point B, what are the values of x and b? So remember, this is basically the profit at point A. Then we look at the profit at point B. What is point B? So if you check here, point B, we found it to be basically 40, 30, which is this one. So 40, 30. So we say 40, 30. So what we do in this profit function, so it will be 25 multiplied by the value of x, in this case is 40, then plus the value of y is basically 30. So what we are going to have is basically 25 times 40, this is a 40, you see basically 1000, then plus 900. We end up with 1900, which is basically greater than that. Then lastly, we can look at C, though it might not be the candidate. So if you look at C, basically at C is 60, 10. So 60, 10. So again, what we do is in this profit function, it will be 25 times 60, then plus 30 times 10. So 25 times 60 is basically 1500, then plus basically 300, which is 10 times 30. So this is basically 1800. So 1800 is less than the first one that we found and less than this one. So what you notice at A is where we get the maximum profit. So the maximum profit is basically this one that we found to be 1900, and how many markers of which type should be ordered to make the maximum profit. So we need to order 40 permanent markers, then 30 dry erase. That's what we need to make at point basically B, which is point B. So that's what we need to do. So that's how you answer this question to get basically the optimal marks. Thank you viewers for watching this episode. If you find this video to be very helpful, please consider liking, sharing, and if you are new to this channel, subscribe to our channel. Once you go to our channel, we'll discover that we've got so much content for you. You'll notice that we've got mathematics, physics, and chemistry. We've also got a section that is arranged by topics. You could be finding challenges with a specific topic. This is the best section for you.